Now I'm not kicking a wire around. I'm still hitting this though. There we go. Now we're perfect.
Pitch perfect.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 11 of Bitcade. My name is Ryan Moore. This right here is Quinn. And don't worry, you might be wondering, hey, where is David? Normally he's here. Well, not here specifically. We are actually in my house, but we will see him later on in the show. So stick around. Today, we are going to be talking about favorite game company and hated game company, and also the Game of the Year nominations for the Primal Target Game of the Year. And then a mystery topic because we don't know what David's is going to be. So, to kick things off first, Quinn, are you ready?
I'm ready to start. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. What are we going to do? What are we talking about?
So the whole
first?
topic with favorite game company and least favorite company is, I hear a lot of people always talking about, scummy sort of companies and practices, blah, blah, blah. And I think just a forewarning or a disclosure, your least favorite doesn't have to be something that's like bottom of the barrel, like they ship people from overseas to work in the dark, and they have
in
to
the gaming mines.
In the gaming mines, yeah.
Get back to coding.
Exactly.
I just picture like a lot of like people in like loincloths and like they're in a dark cave on computers coding.
The only things they can eat are like game sponsored things like Mountain Dew and Doritos and stuff like that, like gamer fuel. Like that's the only things that they're allowed, permitted.
And it's not even like it's like filtered through a tube. They just have to like it's like a hamster thing.
And
so
they
you
just have to like they mush in their Doritos with the liquids.
Ew, it's like this orangey. Oh man, that's gross.
Yeah, it's gross, but so it doesn't have to be that level.
I don't know if there's any at that level.
We don't
know
of. Yeah, we don't know. So I think we'll just start with the bad first.
Okay.
And then move on to the positive. Sort of get the bad taste out of our mouth.
Okay, good.
For mine, I had a little bit difficulty choosing one because these two companies are kind of interconnected, and it was just like both of them.
You can say it.
Yeah, I can say it.
I think David dropped an F-bomb.
All right, I'm dropping the piss bomb.
That's grosser than the hamster feeding tube.
This is the gross episode
of
Primal Target.
Gross episode.
So, both of these companies piss me off for the exact same reason.
Okay.
And that's why I couldn't choose one over the other. So, my first one that I want to talk about is Capcom. And the reason I really I get that companies are always they have sort of divisions. Like there's a team dedicated to certain things. Mm-hmm. And so this is like the one of the most like painful things for me, because the reason I really, really like Capcom, besides like Street Fighter fighting games, is Mega Man. I grew up with Mega Man quite a bit. And in the US, I believe there hasn't been a new Mega Man game since 2008 or something like that. 2007, 2008.
Wasn't it in majority of like the newer stuff
are
is
all
all
remakes.
are all handhelds?
Yeah, they're all handhelds.
Like
They're all just not remakes, but collection games.
Yeah.
Because I think the last Mega Man game that came out in the US that was new was Mega Man Star Force 3 for the DS. And I was in 6th grade when that came out. So
okay. So yeah,
it's been a long time. And so I just remember being very disappointed in Capcom because the way they treated Mega Man, and like there's a whole like meme with Nintendo treating Mega Man better because of his very faithful rendition in Smash 4.
Yeah.
Like where all his animations are exactly the same.
Well,
from
and
his
he
original-
doesn't look like disproportionate
Yeah.
for like who he is.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And it was only until recently that I think Capcom sort of, because one of the biggest controversies that happened at the time when Keiji Inafune left Capcom was one of, like, it was whoever said this at Capcom, like Europe or something. That was poor choice of words. So one of the people working there like responded. I think it was a tweet or something. I was in middle school, so I didn't really care to look this up or dig too deep into it. So it might be wrong, but they said that they had at the time for the 3DS, the Mega Man team was working on Mega Man Legends 3, which was a really big deal. They had generally for Mega Man games, they always have like some sort of fan interaction where the highest ranking fan or they go through a lot of fan art and then they'll add your character to the game.
And they've been doing that since like
Since
the
original,
SNES,
like very
right?
old Mega Man games. And so this dude won the contest, and his character looked good, and it was like they had promotional art with his character with the main cast. So it was like that guy must have been really happy. And then once Keiji Inafune left, they canceled the whole Legends 3. And someone at Capcom Europe said, like, they canceled it. There wasn't enough fan support and stuff like that.
Yeah, because the Mega Man fans, they're never supportive of a new Mega Man game. Yeah, I know.
Like Mighty Number 9 at the time, before we knew it was going to be bad.
Yeah.
Totally didn't get funded within like a certain amount of time, or and overfunded at that. Like it got reached so many of its goals. So yeah, no support, not a whole bunch of fan art getting sent to your company.
Yeah. It's funny that the guy that makes Kirby makes more Mega Man games than Capcom does.
And then after that, it was in like Tekken Cross Street Fight or Capcom Cross, some Capcom.
But that was like the big Mega Man. Like that was the more skinnier, not bulgy, little short Mega Man, right?
No, so recently what they did, I guess, to bring light to Mega Man I think is really cool is they added Mega Man X to Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and he looks really good. He's not goofy, but prior to that,
unlike most of those characters in that game.
Prior to that, though, what happened was they had Mega Man in maybe it was Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I don't remember. But they had box art Mega Man.
Oh, with the laser gun.
He's got the laser gun and he's fat and stuff. And they did that, and a lot of people were like, in my opinion, like I think it could have been a funny goof. Like, you know, it's like pay homage to like really bad American box art Mega Man.
But more of like as a skin, not the main
and
character.
I think it also came at a really bad time too, because it came directly after like the whole incident of canceling like Legends 3.
Okay.
It came after Keiji Inafune left, so a lot of people I think took it personal, like, oh, so this is what Capcom thinks of Mega Man now, huh?
Yeah.
And this hasn't helped with over the years them just pretty much creating a collection game, or just a bunch of collection games, and no new Mega Man in sight. So it's just very kind of like depressing, I guess. And that's why I kind of like I have a love-hate relationship with Capcom, because I love them because they make a lot of good games.
Yeah.
I like the company a lot.
And they have a lot of really good IPs.
But I hate them at the same time, because sometimes they really screw up with their games. Like a lot of people were upset with Resident Evil for the longest time until 7 went back to more like the straight horror beginnings, and a lot of people are kind of upset with Street Fighter 5 in the direction it's gone, and they're trying to fix that, blah blah blah. And it's just Capcom, I don't know. I can't really manage Capcom. I can't tell them like, oh, this is what you need to be doing. Well, I can tell them one thing. They should make Mega Man games. That's what they should do. But Hopefully, with this break though of not making Mega Man games, they haven't completely forgotten Mega Man to the dust. Like they're just trying to brainstorm and think of a way. Like if there were a time to bring Mega Man back, now would be the time because there's not a lot of competitors, and Mighty Number 9 already burned and crashed to the ground.
Yeah.
So there goes.
Where's that Vita version?
Yeah, where's the handheld version of that game?
Waiting for Vita.
They would lose so much money if they made a handheld version. Of
I don't
that,
think
though.
they got enough money to
I
do
don't
it
think
again.
they can do it.
No.
If they did, it's already so late because it's already a year after.
Well, now there's Mighty Gunvolt.
Yeah.
So like because Mighty Gunvolt is like a way better version of
Mighty Number 9.
Mighty
Yeah,
Number 9,
exactly. Because the thing is, Gunvolt was created by Inti Creates, and they did a lot of the Mega Man Zero games. They did Mega Man ZX, like a lot of the handheld Mega Man sort of platformer.
Well, it has that pixelated
Yeah,
look to Gunvolt.
And so they are very capable of making games. So Inti Creates, you guys are awesome. That's why I'm not going to talk about them in the bad section.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
The second company that I don't like is Concept. Concept is the company that Keiji Inafune went to create when he left Capcom. Or he kind of, he left because he felt he was being sort of pigeonholed into only making Mega Man games. And I think that's another thing about Capcom is they got the Activision effect. Because if you think about Mega Man had a game pretty much coming out every single year. And on top of that, multiple Mega Man game series going at a time. Because at the time that Mega Man 7 was released, or maybe it was 8, or maybe even earlier, Mega Man X had come out. And then X1, X2, and X3 were going on. And so at the time, people were confused because when Mega Man X had come out on Super Nintendo, people thought that was 10 because the Roman numeral.
Yeah, yeah.
So everyone was like, well, where are the other things? Because it was sort of like the Final Fantasy thing where the numbers got switched or something. So people thought maybe that's kind of like where it's going. And then when the original Mega Man series had ended for a bit, X was going, and then Legends had started up. And that Legends was on N64.
So they had like 3 series going?
Well, it's always been like 2 at a time, essentially.
Oh, okay.
And then when X was going, and then Legends was only 2 games, and then Battle Network had started, and then Star Force was happening at the same time, and then like Zero was going on at that time too, and then ZX was going at that time, and so it was just like Mega Man game after Mega Man game after Mega Man game, and so a lot of people sort of got sick, I guess, of Mega Man because there was so much Mega Man, and a lot of them weren't very creative, and so a lot of people dropped off. Well, there's a lot of reasons why Mega Man had its downfall, though, because there was also, I guess, in some ways it's true that there wasn't enough support, but I don't think what the Capcom employee was saying when enough support, I don't think it applies to Legends 3. I think Legends 3 had more than enough support. What I think by Mega Man not having enough support is that I've talked to a lot of people who have never heard of the Star Force series. I've talked to a lot of people that didn't know the ZX series and stuff like that. And I think the ZX games, if you're a fan of the platforming style of Mega Man, or you like the Zero series, there's some people that don't even know the Zero series exists.
But it goes back to like what you're saying though. There were so many things going on that it's like you either went one way or you went the other way.
Exactly.
So,
and it just didn't help that it divided a lot of people because Mega Man has Sonic's always been a running sort of game. I mean, there's been a few like party games or RPGs they've splashed in there, but it's never been a dedicated RPG series or something. Whereas Mega Man has gone from 3D like shooters sort of in the Legends series with RPG elements mixed in to side-scrolling platformer to Metroidvania to RPG to and so a lot of people get sliced. I just like Mega Man, so I've played almost all the games. And to get back on track to Concept, the reason I don't like them is because I still respect Keiji Inafune, but he's more. A lot of things though about Keiji Inafune is he's not really he's more of an ideas guy, I guess I would say, sort of ideas businessman rather than like a good original creator, because he didn't really create Mega Man. The original character he created was Zero. The guy who came up with Mega Man was someone else working at Capcom.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so, and even then, when Keiji Inafune came up with the idea for Mega Man X, it's pretty much Blade Runner because Mega Man X is about these.
It's about replicants.
It's about these,
robotic like humans.
They're called Reploids.
Oh, wow!
And they're called Mega Man X. He's a Maverick hunter, so he hunts defiant
oh my gosh,
robots.
that's literally Blade Runner.
It's Blade Runner, yeah. And he hunts down like evil robots that go against their code or whatever.
Yep.
So I think it's hilarious though. So it's not really the most original thing. So he's more of like sort of businessman that comes up. I think he's a lot better of a guy that oversees things rather than comes up with his own things. And I think Concept's biggest failure is that it bit off a lot more than it could chew. Because it promised so many things with the Kickstarter. It was Kickstarter?
Yeah, it was Kickstarter, and it promised, like, every system. We're coming to every system.
It promised that without them having any experience having done that. I mean, they've worked, a lot of the people that work at Concept have worked at actual professional game companies, but never. So what I found out, I guess, for the reason why they couldn't create everything at the same time is that they create pretty much a base version of the game, typically on computer, and then they have to port it onto the other systems and get that to work there or something like that. And like they have to do coding for that or blah blah blah. Video game stuff. I'm not a little sweatshop guy.
Not in the coal mines.
Yeah. And so they had a lot of difficulty doing that because they promised it to pretty much, like, I think Xbox 360, PS3, PS4, Xbox One, Wii U, Nintendo 3DS, the Vita.
And Vita, yeah. And PC.
And the thing is, they couldn't even get the games optimized when they did hit consoles.
Yeah.
So there was no way they could get them optimized for handhelds. So they bit off so much more than they could chew. And it really tarnished Keiji Inafune's name. Because as far as I know, this quote is not true. It was taken from a mistranslation or wrongly quoted or something like that. But the meme that surrounds Keiji Inafune after the release of Mighty Number 9, a lot of people, it might be true. I might have just read a wrong article that was trying to defend him. I don't know. I don't speak Japanese. I don't know him. I would hope he wouldn't have said this because this is very disappointing. About as disappointing as a Miyazaki. Have you ever heard the Miyazaki quote?
About Studio Ghibli?
The quote behind him. I don't know if this is true. I don't want to believe it's true, but it's the picture of him looking sad. It says like anime is a mistake or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
Could you imagine if Walt Disney said cartoons were a mistake?
It's kind of like the thing of like that rumor about how Dr. Seuss hated children. Like you've heard that, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, how is
I don't
that?
want it. I
That's
can't
not
believe that.
true.
I can't believe someone that would dedicate their life to something like that
Yeah,
would
just throw it
ever
away.
just say something as
My life has been a lie.
yeah, as like, oh, totally regret ever doing this because it's yeah, exactly. So the quote that is associated with Keiji Inafune is after like Mighty Number 9 came out, someone asked, well, what do you think of like what the release of Mighty Number 9 and blah blah blah, and the quote, the supposed quote is, it's better than nothing.
I mean, I don't know. I actually did see Kenji Inafune at PAX, and as far as like the way I heard him talking and the way people were asking questions, he did legitimately seem like he was excited for the game, but yeah, maybe he was, if that was what he said, maybe it was like he was so defeated after this situation that it's like, at least it's better than what it is, than not getting one at all kind of thing.
Yeah,
but
I really hope he didn't say that because a lot of the other interviews I saw him, he seemed very apologetic because he said that it was all his fault essentially because he is the team lead and he is in charge of overlooking all these people, and he just didn't think it was very hard for him because he's essentially the head of the company. He
Yeah.
wasn't the head of company at Capcom, but now he's the head of the company at Concept.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of disappointing. I hope that quote isn't true, that he said it's better than nothing, because that's kind of aggravating.
Yeah.
I hope better from him. Those are just two. It's more disappointed in those companies, I guess. That's what rubs me the wrong way. So what would you say is your least favorite company then?
Well, so it's again, I want to go based off of kind of how you were talking about Capcom. It's like you'll never buy these games again. Like you will buy these games again. It's just you're disappointed in the business decisions that these companies have made. A lot of people do throw in, especially like American players, will decide that EA and Activision are the worst companies on the planet. More people lean towards EA. I, for one, have never found a problem with EA. I do enjoy a lot of their games. Nothing I've ever ran into where it's like, oh man, I can't enjoy this game because EA made this game.
What do people particularly hate about EA? Like, what's the main thing?
The EA thing is the microtransaction thing, and we've talked about like a little bit. I don't know too much in detail right now about the whole Star Wars Battlefront thing, but other than the fact that they had a transaction system. And then they changed it, like after the beta, they changed it to a new thing, and then they changed it to another thing when the game launched. And now people aren't very happy about any of that. And I don't know. I haven't played Star Wars Battlefront. I'm gonna pick it up today, so it's like, now that we type stamped this this video, but still, it's EA isn't really my hated company, other than the fact of that kind of comes into play a little bit. But the geniuses over there at Activision, geniuses are in air quotes, of like, I don't know. I've ran into a lot more troubled situations with Activision than any other company. And now when they, like, I was really worried about when Blizzard was bought by Activision. Like, because now it's like, are they going to start doing this system? Luckily, Blizzard has stayed Blizzard, and they have not strayed off into this horribleness that Activision has this view that more is better. And it's not true. Like we've said several times on the show that we prefer to wait for like 5-year games because we'd rather play a full completed game that developers have gone, you know what, that I'm proud of. And I'm not saying like Treyarch, Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer aren't proud of their games. It's just I feel like if you gave developers longer times, you can get those minor details of, wow, that looks beautiful. Like when you look at Battlefield 1, you're like, man, that game looks gorgeous. And you know why? Because they spent years making that game. With Call of Duty coming out every single year, it screws things up. Now, on that note, it's more, I am glad Activision finally got a third company to come in, ergo Sledgehammer, to come in and to make Call of Duty games, because now it gives those developers 3 years rotation cycle instead of 2. Because even if you look back at it, you're like, okay, when you wonder why there's so many Black Ops, why are there so many Modern Warfare? It's because they have to come back and go, this is all we got. Like, we can't just start over this whole new storyline. So now that Sledgehammer's a part of the crew, which they've done an amazing job with World War II, I'm glad to see now we're getting 3 years of development. So that means, like, even if you broke it down to like this layman's terms, let's say you have a whole year of story writing, a whole year of coding, and a whole year of adding like all art styles and stuff. That to me is way better than cram your story, cram your multiplayer, cram everything into these 2 years and keep going. 3 years, I mean, that's a whole year. That's 12 months of these people working to make a game that will launch in November. And I'm glad I'm seeing Activision kind of turn face a little bit. There are times that, but in the past, they have ruined games. Like I've talked with you about Guitar Hero was this like amazing franchise, but why did Harmonix leave? It's because they didn't want to keep making games over and over and over again. They wanted to make a game, support it, and then after a couple years, like then make another one, and innovate on situations. Like that's the reason why there's 4 rock bands and not handfuls of Guitar Hero. You know that, and then Tony Hawk was another example. Like Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 looks like garbage, and it came out the same year. By December, it was like in the bin.
I didn't know that even came out. What year did that come out?
That came out last year.
Tony Hawk Pro
Pro
Skater
Skater 5 came out last year.
I thought they stopped making.
No,
those
they
games.
went back and made this thing, and it's like, I mean, I'm not saying that the developers didn't have any love and care in it, because I mean, they probably did. You're gonna spend time making a game. It's just, I feel like Tony Hawk was more pressured into, let's capitalize on the fact that there's not a skating game out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it just takes EA to come out and go, here's Skate 4. Like, then that's going to blow people out of the water. So with Activision coming out with Tony Hawk, it's, you know, there's this. But even with that franchise before Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5, you had all of these things that were making Tony Hawk not that good anymore. And a lot of people do like the spin-offs, you know, because now there are these two different, like, there's 3 timelines of them. There is a timeline to Tony Hawk. So, like, I don't know them in too much detail, but I've seen it, of where, like, Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and then there's, like, a part where he meets Bam, and so Bam Margera, and then they make Tony Hawk Underground, I think. Or no. Yeah, Tony Hawk Underground? Or Tony Hawk American Wasteland. I think it's Tony Hawk Underground. Anyway, there's 3 different things. And then when he didn't meet Bam is the one where it goes Tony Hawk, I think that's American Wasteland.
So there's like separate universes.
Yeah, there's these different timelines. It's crazy, but it's like, it's kind of cool to like look at them like that.
So is there going to be like a Tony Hawk universe or something?
There
where
is a Tony Hawk
Tony
universe.
Hawks meet each other or something, and they form like Ultimate Alliance.
Yeah,
or
there's
something?
there's gonna be a big Activision game just called Tony Hawk, and it's the Tony Hawk cinematic universe.
Yeah, exactly. And all the Tony Hawks meet each other with their like different like people that they meet, like the main character from Underground or something like that.
But yeah, it's I don't know. It's
Spider-Man's in those games.
Spider-Man,
so
maybe,
the Tony
yeah.
Hawk games.
But that was the other
Oh,
thing.
and
Is like,
Django Fett was there.
but like Activision looked at a lot of their franchises and they just feel like they're rushed, and they're never like, you never give your companies time. For example, Skylanders was an amazing franchise. I'm not saying I ever played them, but I know my brother was at the time at the appropriate age to be playing those. And so like he was getting the figures, he was playing the games, doing all this stuff. But then you started making all these expansion stuff. And it's like, no, you realize you've made the game that everyone wants. Like the game that all you have to do is buy the disc, buy the appropriate figure, and then you can keep playing and just have updates. But no, Activision was like, no, we're just going to keep making games and then keep putting out these different characters. Like Skylanders still exists, but it's still like, it's not nearly as popular as it was before. But like, I don't know, to me Activision is that, why did you just do that, company? Like, why are you making another game when you could easily take a break? Like, I know at this point we now know Call of Duty's coming back every single November, no matter what. It's a yearly game. It's a game that everyone buys on Black Friday because they're like, all right, I'm getting Call of Duty, Madden, and like some other game. And you know, I know Activision knows that, but I wish they didn't know that. So that's why I don't like Activision. So. But I still buy their games.
All right. To move on to the positive side of this topic, my favorite company is probably Atlas.
That's a really good choice. Like, I did not even think of Atlas. That was good.
Yeah, because I'm a big RPG guy, and Atlas has like every RPG, well, not every RPG series, but a lot of them, if they don't make it, they publish it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even for a while, they published Demon Souls.
Yeah,
They
they
didn't
published
even-
Demon Souls until
Till they went off.
Until Pac-Man bought the Pac-Man company bought
The Pac-Man company?
Yeah.
Namco?
Yeah.
Pac-Man company?
I don't know them, what else?
Mr. Pac-Man came in and bought all of the Demon
Yeah.
Souls.
He bought
Does Namco really own that?
yeah, it's like Namco Bandai.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Do they? Wow, I did not know they owned Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's Namco Bandai.
I don't know.
That's why he's in Smash. No, just joking. The new Smash character for Smash Switch is gonna be
But he has a really very small hitbox and he dies immediately. You can smash him no matter what.
But if you play it right, you get infinite combos.
Exactly. You can just keep rolling around.
Well, all the characters can roll in Smash, so he'd fit
Yeah,
right in. Yeah,
exactly. Coming soon.
You can choose like if you want to do like a strength build or a dex build or something like that. Oh, and the more you like kill people, the more souls you get.
You have to collect souls and just keep going. That'd be like a dark turn. It'd be PlayStation All Stars at that point. So. But anyway, you like Atlas.
Yeah, I love Atlas. Mostly because of the Shin Megami Tensei series and the Persona series. They're two, I guess, the biggest games that they make, and I don't think I've played an Atlas game
that you've been disappointed.
Yeah, I've been disappointed.
Okay, I felt like that was where you're leaning.
I'm pausing because I had to think, because I might have played one that was published by them that I was disappointed, but I don't think I played one that was.
Did you play Catherine?
Yes, I played Catherine.
Okay.
I haven't beaten that game yet though, still, because I don't have it. I had a PS3 at the time. Now I don't. I still own the game, but I want to play more of that game.
I mean, I have a PS3.
Freaking love that game. The music in that game. So Shoji Meguro, he's a good guy. Yeah, he's a good.
Isn't he played by Troy Baker?
No, I was talking about the guy who composes the music.
Oh, but isn't the main character?
But the main character is played by Troy Baker.
I think so.
I'll give him a pass on this one because I actually like his. I think he sounds. Well,
on this one alone.
He's not a bad voice actor, but.
Never mind. I was gonna go. Never mind. We're fine. But yeah, I mean, to agree with you on that whole situation, I don't know why. I guess my settings are down. To agree with you on that, on Atlas, it's like I am nowhere near the same JRPG player as you are. Like, if it's a JRPG, I only play Pokemon and now Persona. Like, those are like the only two I play, and I enjoy. So, yeah, I mean, Atlas is definitely really great.
I really like Atlas. They're definitely not as well known as, say, like Square Enix or.
They're getting there though.
Yeah, they are.
After
definitely
Persona 5, like I felt like I saw them everywhere now.
Yeah, the most recent Persona game. I mean, but they took a lot of time to make that game, of course, and I think that's really good for them.
They don't have the Activision effect.
Yeah, they don't have the Activision effect, and they even said after Persona 5, people were like, "Oh, so when's Persona 6 coming out?" And they're like, "We have no plans of making Persona 6 currently because they feel with all the current hardware right now and everything they've done in Persona 5, they've reached the sort of apex."
See, what they need to do now is come over to Xbox and make that JRPG game that Xbox doesn't have.
That's true.
There you go,
Xbox,
Atlas. There you go.
I mean, Xbox only has... Well, they're partnered with Sony, though. That is the thing, though.
Are they? No, because they got Nintendo games.
Yeah, true. Well, I mean...
Like, they would have... No, I'm not talking about Persona. Like, they would start
like
a whole new...
on Xbox. Okay, yeah, they could probably do that.
That way, like, they got Persona over there, Shinigami Tensei on Nintendo, even though, you know, it does cross over sometimes. But same with Persona. But majority of it is on Nintendo.
Yeah.
And then, like, have this other third pillar.
I think the reason a lot of JRPG, especially since Atlas is, like, I guess, a smaller company, they don't do for Xbox is because in Japan, the Xbox doesn't sell as well. So when they're thinking of their home demographic, I mean, Square can, of course, always do it on Xbox. Because
but the other thing is Square also has Western developers as well. Oh. Like Tomb Raider was made by Square Enix, but it was made by Crystal Dynamics, which is a Western company. So
they have Western developers. Yeah. I know there's Atlas USA, but that's only I think mostly for like localization and stuff like that. Not really for making their own games. But yeah, I just like Atlas. Good games. If you've probably played an Atlas game, you just haven't known.
Just look at the box.
Yeah.
It's definitely a logo that sticks out.
Yeah,
especially on the Demon Souls box.
Oh yeah.
It just says Atlas and you're like, "Oh, wow, okay." Yeah.
What about you? What is your favorite game?
My favorite company. This took a while to like decide this one, but it was very easy to confirm which one. And now you asked me which one of this group, and I was like, I all of them are really good. Rockstar is probably my favorite company when it comes to video games. They do everything so right. Like they take the time to make a game.
Yeah, that's
They
for
like I don't need a Rockstar game every single year because I can play that game over and over and over again to either A, get the achievements, finish all of the side quests, do all the it is they have perfected the sandbox game. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Red Dead Redemption is fun. There's fast travel in that I don't use. Like I love riding a horse from point A to point B. I've done it here on the channel. Go check it out. But like they but when I played Red Dead Redemption for the first time, it was something I'd never played before. I've never played a game that had sucked me into that world of a Wild West theme, which is the reason why I'm so ready for Red Dead Redemption 2. I did not play Red Dead Revolver, but I will tell you, Red Dead Redemption was the first Rockstar game I played all the way through. I did play GTA 4 first, was not a fan of it. I just didn't like that style of it.
Which one is GTA 4?
That's the one that's in New York City. That's in
Okay.
Liberty City. That's the one with Nico and like, hey cousin, like that. That's from oh God, I can't even remember his name. I'm blanking on his name right now. But your cousin says that to you. He wants to
Okay.
go bowling with you all the time. Anyway, God, I can't remember. For some reason, I forgot it. Anyway, but Nico is your main character, and then, but it was like I wasn't really into GTA. I wasn't ready for GTA. I was a little bit younger to like play a game like that to get that sucked in.
Yeah.
Red Dead Redemption just has you doing so many things, riding around all over the place, doing side quests, doing things like that. That is enough, like to get you started. There are times where I'm like, oh, this is not that big of a world because like I can ride from point A to point B with in only like 5-10 minutes, even shorter probably. But like after Red Dead, I played LA Noire, which I am so happy that they made a remake of that. Like they did a what do they call that?
Remaster?
Yeah, like a remaster. Yeah, that thing. So now there's like a 4K version of LA Noire. And LA Noire at the time when I got that game, I went to Target, bought the game, came home as a kid. I bought this game at Target, came home, and played it. And for the Xbox 360, it is 4 discs long for the Game of the Year edition. I played
Wow.
that game in a weekend because I loved it so much. And it was a long weekend, so I had like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to play it, and I enjoyed LA Noire so much that I'm like, I cannot believe you can get on this cinematic journey that LA Noire just took me on. And what's crazy is you can see that since Rockstar is owned by Take Two, but since Rockstar is owned by the same group, they're able to share stuff. So like you can see this open worldness that obviously the other GTAs had, but like they perfected how far side missions can go compared to each other in Red Dead. Like that was perfected in that. And then or not perfected, but it was done really well. And then in LA Noire, you had this cinematic look of like, holy crap, that looks like an actual person. And then you go, they actually did impose facial structures in the game so that you can tell if someone was lying. And then after LA Noire was GTA 5. And so you're like, that was I've talked about GTA 5 so much of why I think that game is so great. But like they combined a great story, great cinema, like great look to it. The game looks gorgeous, especially if you have a really high-end PC or an Xbox One X or a PS4 Pro. You can get that 4K look to it, or eventually you'll get 4K to it. But yeah, they've done so many things right that you can't just look at them and go, "Where's the next game?" Like I can play GTA for that's my mindless game. I can go in, do a side quest, come back later and do whatever. And like you just get sucked into that world and it's really great. So Rockstar, I mean, I know they've made also racing games and things like that, and obviously that's been incorporated in games, but I like to, in my mind, I like to refer to Rockstar as the Pixar of video games. Like, sure, Disney owns Pixar, but they're the ones kind of perfecting the animation style. So where Take-Two does own Rockstar, Rockstar does take implements off of every single game, and they just keep adding to that amazingness. And eventually, they just knock things out of the park every single time. So that's why Rockstar is my favorite.
I like it. Yeah.
So that's it, right?
Yeah, that's the
Any
end of
closing
this
statements?
topic. Not really. I don't. I think I spoke my mind quite clearly about how much I'm disappointed by Capcom.
All right. Well, we are moving on